Where are you watching from? Are you from a big city or a small town? Drop your location in the comments. I'd love to see how far this story travels. Now, let me take you into a world where love turns to deception, loyalty shatters, and revenge is served in the coldest, most brutal way possible. My name is Nathan Moreau, and I had everything a man could ever want. A beautiful wife, a thriving business, and a younger brother I trusted with my life. But one night, I walked into a nightmare I never saw coming. A betrayal so deep, so vile, it shattered my entire world. They thought I would break. They thought I would forgive. They thought they had won. But they had no idea who they had just crossed. And by the time they realized it, it was already too late. His father, William Moreau, built their construction empire from nothing, turning Moreau Developments into one of the most respected firms in the industry. Nathan dedicated his entire life to making sure that legacy thrived. He worked longer than anyone else. He ensured every project was flawless. He made sure the Moreau name remained untouchable. And then, there was his younger brother, Adam Moreau. Adam was different. He was the charming one. The risk-taker. The golden boy who never had to work too hard to get what he wanted. Adam was in charge of marketing and finance, bringing in investors, maintaining the company's public image, and making sure Moreau Developments was always in the spotlight. And then, there was Evelyn Moreau, Nathan's wife of 11 years. The woman he had loved since they were young. The woman who had stood beside him through every struggle, every triumph. The woman he believed he would grow old with. But behind closed doors, she was hiding a darkness Nathan never could have imagined. At first, Nathan noticed nothing unusual. Evelyn and Adam had always gotten along well, but that was normal, wasn't it? They were family. Then, the small things started to feel off. Evelyn started coming home late more often, claiming she was helping Adam with marketing strategies. Nathan noticed her laughing at Adam's jokes a little too much. She dressed differently, more elegant, more daring. And then, he caught them exchanging quick glances across the room. The kind that made his stomach twist. And then came the financial records. Adam's marketing budget had tripled in just a few months. When Nathan questioned him, the excuses didn't make sense. Still, he pushed the doubts away. Because the idea that his own wife and his own brother would betray him? It was unthinkable. That night, Nathan was supposed to be out of town for a meeting in Chicago. But the deal got postponed, so he decided to surprise Evelyn instead. He never expected to walk into his own personal hell. As he pulled up to their luxury home in Manhattan, something felt wrong. The lights were dimmed. Adam's car wasn't in the driveway, it was parked down the street, out of sight. Nathan felt a cold rage stir inside him as he stepped out of his car. The air was too quiet. Then, he heard it. A low laugh. A whispered voice. A soft moan. His entire body went rigid. His mind screamed at him to turn back. But instead, he pushed forward. Straight into the bedroom he had shared with Evelyn for over a decade. And there, tangled in the sheets where they had once made love, were his wife and his brother. For a moment, no one moved. Evelyn's face went pale. Adam froze, his usual cocky smirk wiped clean. Nathan just stood there. Watching. Memorizing the moment his world shattered. Nathan, Evelyn's voice cracked as she scrambled to pull the sheets around her. It's not what it looks like. Adam, the arrogant bastard, had the audacity to chuckle. Come on, man. Don't be so dramatic. Nathan's fists clenched at his sides. His vision blurred with white-hot rage. But instead of exploding, his lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. And in the calmest voice imaginable, he said, "Get out." Evelyn's breath hitched. Adam sat up in bed, running a hand through his messy dark hair. Nathan, don't make a scene. We're all adults here. Nathan let out a cold, humorless laugh. Is that what you think? He took one slow step forward. Because I don't remember agreeing to share my wife. Evelyn's lip trembled. Please, just let me explain. Nathan tilted his head, his expression unreadable. Explain? His voice was deadly quiet. All right, Evelyn. Go ahead. Explain. She opened her mouth. Then closed it. Her hands shook as she clutched the bedsheet tighter. I never meant for this to happen. Nathan let out a low breath, feigning curiosity. Oh? You never meant for this to happen? His voice dropped lower, colder. So you just tripped and landed in my brother's bed? Evelyn flinched. Adam, still acting like a smug bastard, leaned back. Look, Nathan, let's be honest here. He smirked. You and Evelyn haven't exactly been the happiest couple lately. Maybe if you paid a little more attention to her. Nathan moved faster than Adam could react. In a flash, he grabbed Adam by the throat and slammed him against the headboard. The impact made the entire bed shake violently. Adam let out a choked gasp. Evelyn screamed. Nathan's face was just inches from his brother's, his voice low and filled with venom. You are going to regret this, Adam. He slowly released his grip, stepping back. Evelyn sobbed into the sheets. Adam coughed, rubbing his throat. Nathan turned to them one last time. Enjoy it while you can. Then, without another word, he walked out of the room. But in his mind, the war had already begun. Nathan didn't break. Not in front of them. Not when he left the house. Not when he got into his car. Not when he drove aimlessly through the streets of Manhattan. But the moment he pulled into a dark, empty parking lot, he gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. He had been a fool. While he was working late nights, building a future for them, trusting them, they had been laughing behind his back. The rage inside him was like wildfire. He wanted to destroy everything. But he wouldn't. Because Nathan Moreau wasn't a man who reacted. He was a man who planned. And his plan? It would ruin everything they built together. Evelyn expected Nathan to scream. To rage. To demand answers. But the silence was worse. He just walked away. No yelling. No threats. No anger. That night, she sat alone in their once warm bedroom, scrolling through old photos. Their wedding day, when she swore she would love him forever. Their first home, where they planned their future. The holidays spent together, the late nights, the laughter. It had all felt so perfect. And she had destroyed it. For what? For Adam? For a man who had never taken anything seriously in his life? For the first time, a sickening thought crept into her mind: what if she had chosen the wrong man? Adam had always been the golden boy. The one who got away with everything. He thought Nathan would move on. Maybe even forgive him. But the first cracks appeared a week later. Adam walked into the Moreau Development's boardroom, expecting the usual respect. The admiration. Instead, the room was ice cold. His biggest investors had pulled out overnight. The company accounts were frozen. His business reputation was in flames. And at the end of the table, sitting in his usual chair, looking completely calm, was Nathan. Adam's stomach dropped. For the first time, he realized he had no idea what was coming next. Nathan had spent years making Moreau Developments a household name. Adam had spent years leeching off that success. Now, Nathan was taking everything back. Nathan had been the true mastermind behind their empire. But he had let Adam handle the public image. The marketing. The charm. That was Adam's only value. So Nathan destroyed it. He leaked Adam's financial mismanagement to the press, fake invoices, bad investments, all the reckless decisions Adam had made in secret. Overnight, Adam Moreau became a pariah. And while Adam's career crumbled, Evelyn watched from the sidelines, realizing too late how deep she was in this mess. She tried calling Nathan. No response. She showed up at his office. Security escorted her out. She went to their bank account. Her name was removed. And then, the divorce papers arrived. It wasn't just a divorce. Nathan had made sure she got nothing. No house. No assets. No money. She had left him for another man. Now, she had nothing left. Adam had always been the charming one. The one people trusted. But trust was a fragile thing. When his biggest investors pulled out, the company's stock plummeted. His accounts were investigated for fraud. His name was ruined beyond repair. And Nathan? Nathan bought him out at rock-bottom price. Adam Moreau was now jobless, broke, and humiliated. Evelyn sat alone in a cheap motel room, staring at her phone. She had nowhere to go. Adam was broke. She was broke. The life she had built on lies and betrayal had collapsed. In desperation, she dialed Nathan's number. It rang. Once. Twice. Then, the number you are trying to reach has been disconnected. Tears spilled down her face. Nathan was gone. And she had destroyed the only good thing she ever had. Nathan was attending a black tie event in Chicago, celebrating his new business empire. And then, he saw them. Adam and Evelyn. They looked wrecked. Struggling. Broken. Shadows of who they once were. For a brief second, Evelyn's eyes met his. Hope flickered in her gaze. She started to walk toward him. But Nathan? He simply turned away. She wasn't worth his time. That night, Evelyn sent one last message. Nathan, I'm sorry. I should have chosen you. She waited. Prayed for a response. But it never came. Because Nathan Moreau had already erased her from his life. Nathan didn't need to destroy them physically. He destroyed them by living better. Adam and Evelyn thought they were winning. Instead, they had destroyed themselves. And Nathan? He had built something stronger than ever. Because the best revenge is making sure they can never reach you again. With Adam's life in ruins, Evelyn had no backup plan. She tried dating wealthy men. None of them stayed. She tried moving out of state. She couldn't afford it. She tried reaching out to friends. They had all moved on. And finally, in her lowest moment, she did something she swore she never would. She called Nathan. Nathan was at home, sipping bourbon on his balcony, when his phone rang. A number he hadn't seen in months. Evelyn. He let it ring. And ring. And ring. Then, he blocked the number. She had chosen his brother over him. Now, she wasn't even worth a response. Evelyn had lost everything. She moved into a tiny, run-down apartment, a far cry from the luxury she once flaunted. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, barely recognizing herself. She had been the wife of a powerful man. And now? She was nobody. And the worst part? Nathan didn't even care. While Evelyn and Adam struggled, Nathan was thriving. At a charity gala, he met Celeste Laurent, a powerful, elegant woman with a sharp mind and an even sharper ambition. Unlike Evelyn, she wasn't interested in his money. She had her own. She didn't need him. She wanted him. And for the first time in years, Nathan felt alive again. One night, scrolling through social media, Evelyn saw a picture. Nathan. With her. Celeste. Smiling. Laughing. Happy. Tears filled Evelyn's eyes. It should have been her. But now, she was just an afterthought. And Nathan? He didn't even remember she existed. Adam Moreau had never known true desperation. Not until now. Once, he had been the golden boy. The smooth talker. The charming businessman who could walk into any room and own it. Now, he was a shadow of that man. His expensive suits? Sold. His luxury apartment? Evicted. His savings? Drained. That night, he sat in a rundown casino bar, gripping a nearly empty whiskey glass. Watching the world move around him. He had just gambled away his last dollar. Everything was gone. And worst of all, he knew exactly who was responsible. Nathan Moreau. The man he had betrayed. The man he thought would forgive him. But Nathan Moreau was not the kind of man you betray and walk away from unscathed. Now, Adam was left with nothing but regret. Evelyn sat in her cramped apartment, staring at her phone, hands shaking. She had nothing left. No money. No security. No future. And most of all, no Nathan. For weeks, she had pretended she was fine. She told herself that things would get better. That Adam would bounce back. That she could start over. But deep down, she knew the truth. She had ruined her life. And Nathan was happier than ever. She had seen it online. His booming business. His high-profile connections. And worst of all, his new woman. Celeste Laurent. Evelyn hated her. Hated her with a bitterness that made her sick. It should have been her. Standing by Nathan's side. Going to gala events with him. Waking up next to him every morning. But instead, she was rotting in the consequences of her own betrayal. A notification popped up on her phone. A friend had posted pictures from a recent gala. And right there, in the center of it all, looking more handsome and successful than ever, was Nathan. His arm wrapped around Celeste's waist. His smile, effortless. And then, she saw it. The engagement ring on Celeste's finger. Her heart stopped. Nathan was getting married. And that was when it finally hit her. He had moved on. For real. For good. And she had been left behind. Adam had lost everything. But there was still one person who could save him. Nathan. Or so he thought. With no money left. No job. No future. Adam finally did the one thing he swore he would never do. He showed up at Nathan's office. Security barely let him past the front desk. But Adam wasn't leaving without a conversation. When Nathan finally stepped out of the elevator, looking sharp in his custom suit, he barely glanced at his brother. Adam forced a smile. Nathan, come on, man. Let's talk. Nathan sighed. As if Adam was nothing more than an inconvenience. I have a meeting, Adam. Adam took a step forward, lowering his voice. Look, I know I screwed up. But we're brothers. We can fix this. Nathan's face remained stone cold. You mean the way you fixed my marriage? My company? My trust? His voice was dangerously calm. You don't have a brother anymore, Adam. The words hit harder than any punch. Nathan turned away. And that was the last time Adam Moreau ever saw his brother. Evelyn had lost her dignity. But at this point, she didn't care anymore. She had tried to survive on her own. To rebuild. To pretend she didn't need Nathan. But she did. He was the only man who had ever truly loved her. And now that he was slipping away for good, she couldn't let it happen. So she did something she never thought she would. She went to Nathan's wedding. The venue was extravagant, a luxury estate outside New York City, filled with powerful businessmen, celebrities, and people Evelyn once belonged among. And at the center of it all, standing at the altar, waiting for his bride, was Nathan. Celeste Laurent, dressed in an elegant white gown, walked toward him. Radiant. Evelyn could barely breathe. She had to stop this. She rushed forward, pushing through the crowd. Gasps filled the room. Nathan slowly turned. His expression, unreadable. For a moment, the entire world stood still. And then, calmly, he spoke. Security. Before Evelyn could say another word, 2 guards grabbed her arms, dragging her out of the wedding. She fought. Screamed his name. But Nathan? Nathan never looked back. And that was the moment Evelyn finally understood. Nathan Moreau was gone. And she had lost him forever. The night of Nathan's wedding should have been the final closure. But for Evelyn, it was only the beginning of her worst nightmare. She sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, clutching her phone. Staring at the last photo she had of Nathan. Their anniversary trip years ago. Back when he still loved her. Back when she still mattered. But now, Nathan was married to someone else. Someone better. And she was nothing. Her hands trembled as she typed out a message. Nathan, please. I'm sorry. Just say something. She hit send. Then, she waited. 1 minute. 5 minutes. An hour. And then, the realization hit her. He wasn't going to respond. Nathan Moreau had finally, completely erased her from his life. And that was the cruelest punishment of all. While Evelyn spiraled into regret, Adam had vanished. After being humiliated at Nathan's office, he stopped trying. The once famous Adam Moreau, known for his charm and business savvy, had become a ghost. Nathan had made sure that no company would ever hire him again. Every job application, rejected. Every business attempt, shut down before it even started. Every investor, warned to stay away. Nathan didn't destroy Adam directly. He simply made sure Adam destroyed himself. And one day, Adam packed his bags, took his last bit of cash, and disappeared. No one heard from him again. No one cared to look. Because Nathan had already won. Moreau Developments wasn't just thriving, it had become an empire. His partnership with Celeste Laurent led to record-breaking deals, making them one of the most powerful couples in the business world. Their faces were on magazine covers, financial news reports, elite business conferences. Everywhere Nathan went, people respected him. People admired him. People feared him. And most importantly, no one even remembered Adam and Evelyn. Because they had become irrelevant. One morning, as Nathan was sipping his coffee in his office, his assistant knocked. "Sir, you might want to see this." She handed him a newspaper. And there, printed in bold letters, was the headline. Adam Moreau arrested for fraud. Nathan barely reacted. Apparently, after years of failure, Adam had tried to scam investors in a desperate attempt to get back in the game. He had been caught. Charged. And now, he was rotting in a prison cell. Nathan set the newspaper down. And moved on with his day. Adam Moreau had officially ceased to exist in his world. She was living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Surviving on minimum wage. Doing the very thing she once looked down on. The once glamorous woman who lived in luxury, had been reduced to struggling for rent money. Her beauty had faded. The stress. The regret. The heartbreak. had aged her in ways she never expected. And the worst part? She had to watch Nathan Moreau thrive from a distance. She saw his wedding pictures. His perfect children. His thriving company. And she knew, she had destroyed herself. One night, sitting alone in her dingy apartment, Evelyn did something she swore she would never do. She opened her laptop. Searched for Nathan Moreau's email. And began typing. Nathan, I know I don't deserve to ask for anything, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I ruined everything, and I see that now. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. Please, if there's any part of you that still remembers what we had, just say something. Her finger hovered over the send button. And then, with a deep breath, she pressed it. Then, she waited. And waited. And waited. Hours passed. Then, her screen flashed. Delivery failed. The recipient has blocked this email. Evelyn's hands went numb. Nathan had permanently erased her from his life. Fate had a way of being cruel. One day, as Nathan was leaving a 5-star restaurant, he saw her. Evelyn. She was standing across the street. Her clothes, cheap. Her hair, unkempt. Her face, tired and hollow. Nathan barely recognized her. For a moment, their eyes met. For a second, she thought he would say something. That he would acknowledge her. Maybe even pity her. But then, Nathan turned away. Not out of hatred. Out of indifference. And that was the ultimate punishment. A week later, Evelyn got an interview for a secretary position. It was a small company, nothing like the life she once had. But, it was a start. She dressed in her best clothes. Walked in with confidence. Sat down with the hiring manager. But as she spoke, she noticed something off. The manager was reading her resume. Then, he frowned. You used to be Evelyn Moreau? He asked. Her stomach twisted. Yes, she said slowly. The manager sighed and set the resume aside. I'm sorry, but this position has already been filled. Evelyn opened her mouth, but she already knew the truth. Nathan had made sure, she would never rise again. Nathan Moreau's children grew up in a world of power and prestige. The Moreau name meant something. It was wealth. It was influence. It was legacy. And Adam? His last name had become a joke. No one spoke of him. No one remembered him. Because Nathan had made sure, the only Moreau that mattered was him. With no job, no friends, and no future, Evelyn was forced to make one final, humiliating decision. She applied for government assistance. Food stamps. Welfare. The woman who once lived in penthouse apartments. The woman who once wore designer clothes. The woman who once drank champagne with CEOs. Was now just a number in the system. She had hit rock bottom. And Nathan? Nathan was living in a world she could never enter again. Nathan sat across from Celeste in a private jet, sipping champagne. It was their 5th anniversary. Celeste smiled at him, her eyes filled with love. Are you happy? She asked. Nathan looked at her. At the life they had built. At everything he had achieved. Then, with absolute certainty, he answered, I've never been happier. And for the first time in his life, he meant it. Nathan received one last email. This time, from Adam. It was short. Nathan, I know I can't undo the past, but if there's any way we can talk, I'd be grateful. I just want to make things right. Nathan stared at the message. Then, he deleted it. Without replying. Adam Moreau had already been buried in the past. There was no point in digging up a corpse. Years later, Nathan stood at the edge of his private estate, overlooking the empire he built. Everything he had worked for, the success, the legacy, the love of a real woman. It was his. And as he sipped his whiskey, staring into the horizon, he felt nothing but peace. Evelyn, Adam. They had faded into nothing. Because the best revenge was making sure they could never reach him again. And that was his final victory.